author and presidential historian Doug Wead, former special assistant to President George H.W. Bush. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Lou.
This caught a lot of people by surprise, and I will admit, including me, when the president chose to make an announcement about DACA after he had brilliantly brought the Democrats in, had pushed DACA, ended DACA, pushed it to Congress, working with the Democrats and taking the continuing resolution, the budget ceiling, and pushed it off to Congress to deal with 3 months more to spare.
Yeah.
And then suddenly involves himself again in DACA.
Yeah. I trust Donald Trump. Well, I don't trust anybody, but as much as you can trust someone in Washington, I trust Donald Trump, and I don't trust the Republicans or Democrats. So I think he may land on his feet with this yet, and I'm thrilled with finally the middle class. We get an increase in the median household income. The senior citizens, after 8 years of Obama, they've got more money in their 401ks out of Trump in just a few months than 8 years with Obama.
Right.
And unemployment for the poor. So I like those things. It's morning in America, but I think this will cost him politically because you mentioned I worked with George H.W. Bush, and I traveled with him for several years on the road, and he did not like that line, read my lips, no new taxes. He'd say, I'm not going to give that in the speech today, but he'd get out there and the crowd was just, they'd suck it out of him. They'd draw it out of him. And I remember in the practice debate, he winced in the middle of the debate. He said, I don't want to get stuck on taxes. And I was thinking to myself, well, boy, pal, you are forever. You're stuck with, and sure enough, when he was nominated at the convention and accepted his nomination in 1988 in New Orleans, he used that great line. It was the biggest line, read my lips, no new taxes, build the wall. And Trump is nailed to that wall. So it may not cost him re-election, but it's going to cost him something, and it might cost him re-election.
Well, he says he's going to build it. He says it's just going to be a little later than he wanted. It was going to be day one that he was going to deal with DACA and other issues. But, I think the base can deal with a delay. They could never deal with a canceled wall. It's not symbolic to the base. It is absolutely a commitment, a promise, a guarantee on the part of this president, which he's going to have to meet if he is to preserve what is an extraordinary relationship with his base.
You're right. I think he knows that. We'll see. We'll see what he gets out of this and how far he takes this with the Democrats.
What would you have him do with Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell? Because they're nothing more than hacks. They've been there far too long. Ryan, 20 years, more than 3 decades. For Mitch McConnell, they've never done anything. They haven't passed significant legislation of any kind. Even the volume, I think Ryan has moved 3 bills in his entire career, one of them to name a post office. I mean, these are not accomplished, brilliant legislators.
I don't know. Maybe you could expose some of the corruption. There's so much corruption in Washington. If they started pulling on the thread, the whole sweater would come undone.
We've tugged on that, and it's a swamp, partner. It's not a sweater, I'll tell you, as you well know. Doug Wead, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Lou.
Doug Wead, presidential historian.